Good morning, Fighting Owls. My name is Tom Papke. I'm a physical therapist practicing for 40 years. I'm a member of the American Physical Therapy Association, a member of the American Academy of Orthopedic Manual Physical Therapy, and a member of the National Association of Self-Employed. I was invited today to speak to you by Suzanne Zylanis, and I'm happy to present a little bit of information about physical therapy and what it is and how to become one, and private business, and how to establish yourself in your own personal private practice. I started out in physical therapy at Marquette University in 1980. I chose that profession because in high school in my junior year, I worked in a program called Camp Sunshine, run by Miriam Perrone, and it was a program that emphasized drama, dance, art, music for kids that were being mainstreamed into the high school system that had physical handicaps, socioeconomic poor. Out of that, my high school counselor my junior year suggested I consider physical therapy because that's a profession that works with kids that don't move well. And so I embarked on that career, graduating from Marquette University in 1980, and then from there made a beeline straight to Southern California because I hate the winter, love the sunshine, and so I started my career at UCLA Medical Center. I was there for 4 years before I went on for further postgraduate education and attended a program through the Kaiser Foundation up in Northern California, and they offered a program in orthopedic manual physical therapy. I studied for a year there and then moved on to private practice. In that private practice, I established that in 1987. I sold my assets in about 2004 and moved here to Virginia, where I've lived since. I have 3 practices, one in Alexandria, one in Washington, D.C., and a little practice that I have here on Fridays in Little Washington. Physical therapy is a blend of science and arts, and the emphasis of learning your basic sciences and blending the artistry of who you are as a person, and you bring that to the individuals that you will meet and treat along the way. There are several things that have influenced my education over the years, and a lot of those are in what you read and who you studied from. So let me share a few of those books that influenced how I practice today. The first one, The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. I read that book in kindergarten and first grade, and I haven't put it down since. And it gave me the foundation of the concept of giving. Physical therapy is a profession where it's a service-oriented profession, and you're giving to those clients that walk through your door. The second book, Everything You Needed to Know You Learned in Kindergarten by Robert Fulham. So if you're watching this and you're in first grade and above, you already know what you need to know to be a physical therapist. The third book, Don't Worry, Make Money by John Carlson. He gives you more of a spiritual, emotional sense of what money is all about and how your own self influences the money that you will make. And the last book today, The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. This is a book that takes a look at why most businesses fail. So I'll get back to that in a second. So my story, graduated Marquette, went to Southern California, postgraduate studies. That's where I ran amok. I was in my first year of my postgraduate program, and I ran out of money. My parents had none to send, and I couldn't figure out how I was going to make it through the program not having any funding. And so in sometimes those moments, you look creatively as to where can I get the money from? No different than kind of what we're going through today with the COVID-19. So I approached a hospital, St. Mary's Spine Center, and I asked them if they would advance me 1 year's salary if I agreed to work for 2 years for them after I finished the graduate program. They did, and I continued on with the graduate program and went to work at St. Mary's Spine Center. After that experience, which was an extremely great experience working with individuals that have back and neck pain, understanding the surgical and medical management of those types of problems, I moved to Southern California. In Southern California, I was working in a private practice with another physical therapist who owned the practice. And after a number of years working there, I started to do the math, and what I realized is I thought I should be paid more. And we could not agree on what that would be, so I decided I would go into business. I had no business plan. I had no talent except what I knew from the 5 years of practicing physical therapy. So I set into motion opening up a private physical therapy practice in Southern California in Santa Monica. Surprise, surprise, that terrible period in graduate school where I didn't have money and I worked in that surgical spine center. One of my first clients in Southern California when I opened that private practice was a star football player for the San Francisco 49ers. He was a quarterback. He had back problems, was anticipating back surgery, went to the surgeons up in Northern California who referred them to me. In that moment, simple celebrity endorsement, my practice grew from 1 person to 15 people. It was a huge success and I enjoyed the business. But what I didn't have was a business model to work from. And after 10 years of working in the business, I said, okay, that's it, I'm done. It wasn't giving me joy anymore. And so I sold the assets, sold the practice, and I moved here to Washington, D.C. Thought about New York, decided I was too poor. Thought about Boston, I decided it was too cold. And so D.C. was the fit for me. So I taught for about 8 years at Marquette University in their physical therapy program as an adjunct faculty member. While there, I was approached by a couple that owned a gym, Mike and Susan Myers, Old Town Athletic Club, and they were looking to establish physical therapy within their gym facility. Back in 1999, when I ventured into that, only about 2% of healthcare providers were in gym settings. Today, 98% of healthcare providers exist within most healthcare facilities in a gym setting. So I opened up my practice, but this time around I said I'm not going to do the same model as I did before where I had a large practice, large overhead, a number of employees, and that's where I used Michael Gerber's book, The E-Myth Revisited, to help me redesign the business. In this country, in the USA, about 50% of the workforce are employed by small businesses. So today with COVID-19 and many of those businesses shut down, you can imagine the devastation to our economy for the moment. But there will be a lot of creative solutions to that problem as life continues on and you'll read about them or you'll be one that actually creates them in the future. So Michael's book, the gist of it is, most small businesses fail. Why do they fail? They don't have a strategy or a business plan. So he looked at the model, franchises. 75% of franchises, a McDonald's, a dry cleaning, those businesses have a 75% success rate. And so he looked at how are they successful and how can you apply that to having your own business. And so he gives you the foundation and the structure to set up your own business in a way that you won't have the trials and tribulations of growing without a blueprint or about a plan. So I set into motion developing my own policy and procedure manual. Even though I'm just a person of one, I set up a policy and procedural manual much in the way that you would get one from a franchise business, of wearing the different hats of accounts payable, accounts receivable, marketing and development, staff physical therapist, cleaning service. Each of those job descriptions are in the manual that I have, even though I'm just a one-man show at the moment. And then in that are my personal goals. What do I want to achieve by having this program? This is where John Carlson's book is very helpful, or Richard Carlson's book, Don't Worry, the Money Will Come, or Don't Worry, Make Money. The gist of that is the emotional part of making money. So personal goals as to what do I want my life to look like? And then business goals. What do these businesses need to do to set into motion for me to have that success? I started and embarked on that almost 20 years ago, and I'm still here today having a wonderful time doing physical therapy and in private business. The bulk of physical therapists today work for corporations, hospitals, private entities. So it's a small segment of the physical therapy profession that are actually employed in private practice. But I can't emphasize enough how wonderful it is to do something like that for yourself And you can extrapolate that model, even though I do it in physical therapy. You could be in landscaping, you could be an artist, you could be in your own career direction, but I would encourage you to take a look at starting your own business. Now, what does a physical therapist do? It's a blend of science and a blend of art. The sciences are your basics: biology, chemistry, anatomy, physiology, neurophysiology, neurology. Don't be afraid of all of that. If you're not that A student, you don't have to be. There was never a time in my life where I would ask a graduate coming into my office for employment, what did they get for a grade point average? Not necessary. In the books that I recommended today, not one of those were the science books. You're going to have that as your foundation. You don't have to be an A student. You don't have to be a B student all the time, but you need to understand the foundations of the sciences to move forward. So a physical therapist works, and I love this definition from Romney, it's treating areas of impairment of the musculoskeletal system and the related and component parts of the neurovascular system. Let me repeat that again. So the concept is somatic dysfunction. Break it down into Latin: soma, body, prefix dys, not function, not functioning, the body not functioning. So somatic dysfunction has areas of impairment of the musculoskeletal systems and its related or component parts of the vascular, lymphatic, and nervous system. Somatic dysfunction is characterized by symptoms, complaints of pain, numbness, tingling, ache, stiffness, swelling, soft tissue changes, how the tissue feels to touch, and change in function, changes in strength, flexibility, coordination, balance, endurance. So as a physical therapist, what you're going to do is, in an evaluation, try and reproduce their symptoms, evaluate their soft tissue for normalcy, and evaluate function. So you'll be evaluating individuals for strength, balance, coordination, endurance, and so on. Then in your treatment, your goal will be to relieve or ease the symptoms, restore the tissue to feeling normal again, and improving function, whether it's strength, flexibility, coordination, endurance. And so your goals will be abolish the symptoms, improve the function, and restore that person back into the normal functioning life, hopefully teaching them on how to do it themselves. So that's the gist of what physical therapy does. You can do it in a variety of fashions. Our model is an old model. It started about 80 years ago. It was born out of World War I. It's predominantly a women's-based profession because back in World War I, women were available to deal with the wounded soldiers coming back from Europe. And so they were termed reconstruction aides. From that, we moved into an epidemic, not much different than the pandemic we have today of polio. So women again were available to take care of the children and the adults that were being affected with paralysis from that pandemic many years ago. Then we moved into World War II and so on. And so the profession grew out of that as an assistant to physicians into its own associate arts, bachelor's, master's, and now currently a doctorate program. So if you want to pursue physical therapy today, you're going to be on a track of about a 6 to 7 year education, going through high school, college, master, and doctorate level to get that degree. The rewards are great. I encourage anyone, if you're in your junior year, to really contemplate the studies of physical therapy as a tool for you to move forward in the future. It's a very mobile profession. You can take it anywhere. If you are one of those outdoor gurus that loves to ski the slopes, you can follow the snow, you can follow the beach, you can follow the western slopes, you can go wherever you like to go and take the profession with you. And so it can travel, it can serve you well as a part-time job. If you have other careers or other desires that you want to do, you can work on a part-time basis. You can work for someone or you can work for yourself. The rewards are great. I hope you'll give it some considerations as you move forward in your education. If there's anything more you'd like to discuss with me, you can reach me through Suzanne, or you can reach me at Tom, T-O-M, at Capital Metro Physical Therapy. That's Capital with an O, Metro Physical Therapy. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have about physical therapy or starting your own business. Take care and have a great day.